You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Hello and welcome to I Thought You'd Like to Know. My name is Mary Kloska and I am a guest interviewer today on the show. I have my own program called The Heart of Fiat Crucified Love, and I have my first book coming out here this week called The Holiness of Womanhood. But I am excited today to welcome Romuald Simeon, who is a lay missionary. And he has a lifetime of stories that he wants to share with our guests today. So we will get to him. Welcome, Rami.
Okay. I'll have to interject and say things my way.
Yes.
Okay. Catholic missionary catechist.
Oh, super. Okay.
I don't like the word lay.
Okay.
So, because, it isn't exact. Anyway, so first of all, I'm just an ordinary guy. And if you already heard the talk with Mike Horn, I gave pretty much the same introduction. And I really want to say this very sincerely because I've met so many different people who are really very important. And not important in the sense that they're better than anyone else, but they're chosen by God. And bishops, archbishops, and all these things, I can spot a lot of names of people that I've met. And the whole point that I see, how I see myself is that I just had a very good background and how I was raised and all this kind of thing. And I mean, Christian, Catholic, super Catholic from the beginning. And it's not just me, but the people around me.
Right.
My mother was an Italian hillbilly, and they call Montanaro from the mountains, came to America, and she was the number 10 child of 11 children.
Uh-huh.
The last three that were still left in Italy after so many already came to America and other places. Her father was a most amazing man, a real saint. I mean, a man could be canonized.
Oh,
and his name was Joseph Guerra, which means Joseph War.
Uh-huh.
But when I went to Italy and looked of the ancestry and all this kind of thing, found out when I went to the village where they were, Ruva del Monte, which had been a Roman garrison from ancient times, where Roman soldiers overlooked the Appian Way all the way to Brindisi from near Rome, actually closer to Naples. And people didn't even know what the name meant.
Oh.
And I was an historian, and I was always teaching history and learning history and inquiring on everything at all. And I found out Ruvo meant a raspberry patch.
Oh.
the garrison of these soldiers, and the soldier who was a martyr, Donato, who was a Roman centurion, who's buried there, and he's got they hit him in the catafalque. I don't know if it's really a dummy or whatever, but he was a Christian, and he was martyred because he was Christian.
Oh, wow.
Soldier. And that's why people from that town, when they come to America, they call him Dan, but they're not Dan, they're Donato.
Oh,
Donatos in Latin. Okay? And so I said, my grandfather, who was your grandfather? My grandfather was Joseph Guerra. We don't know Joseph Guerra. Never to this town. The people don't know about him here. And I said, and I described him, and he says, "Oh, Giuseppe Giusto."
Oh, Giusto. Right.
Joseph.
The
Giusto.
Right.
And he was a peacekeeper and all that. Oh yeah, sure. They showed me in the chapel they had a cross on the seat. This is where he prayed. He was the peacemaker of the town and all this kind of thing. And Giuseppe Giusto had come to America. He had gone to the Argentina at first, and it didn't work out. And he went there because of being a just man. His son had committed a crime. His son had put with others, put a torch on the tail of a fox. It ran through the wheat fields and burnt all the people's sustenance. And he took it upon himself. Others wanted to kill these kids and all that kind of stuff. He saved his son, but he says, I will pay for it. And he was poor. And he went to Argentina, and he took upon himself the duty to pay for those fields of people. And he was so just.
Wow.
He says, yeah, he did the well in our town and all that, and the well doesn't exist anymore, but we took the stones from it and put it into our houses like relics.
Wow.
I mean, this was a really just man. And I met him one time in my life, because eventually he came to Chicago, and he was in Chicago away from his family, and they were wondering why he was there, separate from his family who were in Buffalo, New York. And he was in Chicago. He had gone there to save his daughter. His daughter had married a man who was a drunkard and a wife beater. And he went there in order to protect his daughter and to make peace with this son-in-law. And he did, and he did. And I read his journal in Italian, and he says, don't say bad things about him, because he's treating her well, and he's treating me good.
Wow.
It was complete forgiveness, complete. So that was my mother's side. My father's side were Italian Jews.
Okay.
His father was a doctor in a town where he was the only Jew, and he was wealthy, and he did mitzvah. He did charity work. He used to go up the mountain to Montevergine, up that mountain, 4,000 feet mountain, in where St. William had this, the Virgin Mary appeared in Italy. The Lourdes of Italy is Montevergine, Mount Vergine, and near Naples. And they lived just below the mountain, and he used to go up there on his buggy and all that, take care of the monks. And he got into discussion with them. He talked about the Old Testament. They talked about the New Testament. They converged.
Wow.
It was witness of both of them.
Wow.
And they showed him, the only story I know about him, that they showed him from Nehemiah, that Jesus would come to the second temple. Well, second temple has already been destroyed, 70 AD. He must be there already.
Right.
And eventually he was convinced Jesus was the Messiah.
Wow.
He wanted to become a monk. He was like, there's this thing about the Simeons. They're always go-getters, and they move on their point, you know. Right. They're not people that hold back. And so he wanted to become a monk, but he was married. He was a doctor. He was married. So his brother became a monk. And,
wow.
And the family was tutored by that monk. And my father was tutored by that monk before he came to America. Okay, so I had this structure, and we had Jewish traditions connected to Christianity. Mm-hmm. It was almost like being with St. Paul.
Right.
You know? And so we had to read the Bible. We read the Bible. We were being told all the truths of the books of the books of wisdom and all that as a child. And so I didn't know how to. I said, Poppy, how do I know all these things? You got to learn to read and write. So he taught us to read and write before we went to kindergarten.
Wow.
You know, and
incredible.
We started reading the Bible, listening to the Bible and all that. By the time I was 12 years old, I went through the whole Bible. I didn't understand most of it, but went through it and realized, oh, these are books of wisdom. We're people of the book. And so fit right into Christianity. And in fact, my older brother was already going in catechism class. And I said, where are you going to school? You're going to school and I'm not going to school. He was 2 years older than me. And he's going to catechism class. You're learning stuff. I want to go. I want to go. And I went in this class with him. And here I was 4 years old.
Wow. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
4 and 4.
Oh,
4 and 4, but 2 were stillborn.
okay.
And so then, so we had 10. 10
Right.
altogether. Okay. But all the girls were older and all the boys were younger.
Okay. So you had your brood.
So, yeah, we had a lot of problems. Older sisters who thought they were my mother.
I understand. I had that too.
It helped me to become a bachelor.
Aww.
These are realities. They're all detailed. So I went to catechism class. I'm learning catechism and all that kind of thing. And when we're being checked, the nun there says, he's too young. He can't receive Holy Communion. So she called in the priest, was always checking the nuns. And so this priest came in, Father Nava, who later became a bishop, was very strong, powerful in my life. I became an altar boy. Okay, but anyway, he says, does he know his work? Yeah. Okay, he checked me out. I gave the same answers the others gave in the class. He says, he goes to First Communion. I went to First Communion with my brother.
You knew it.
I wasn't even supposed to be in the class. And it was a really apostolic church run by this priest who was a disciple of St. John Bosco.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so super, another big influence in my life. I knew of him all the way from that time all the way to his death. And he was a super Catholic. And here he was. He came to America as a missionary because the Pope sent him, St. John Bosco sent him.
Wow.
From Turin. He was born in Turin, Italy. And he came there and he had no church and all that. And the bishop didn't like him, didn't want him there. He says, we already have a parish here. And he says, but people are not going to church. The Pope says that the people are not going to church. Don't worry about this. If they want to go to church, there's the other Italian church here with these other priests and all that. He didn't go back. He opened up a storefront. It's a more difficult story than that.
Right.
Because he was kind of depressed and all that. He started a storefront. An Irish guy loaned him $50, and he started a storefront church where he stayed in it. He had catechism classes upstairs. There are no people going to church. He buttonholed them on the streets. He was like John Bosco.
Wow.
He went on the streets and talked to people, real street missionary and all that, and getting them in that, had to have a place there. Eventually, St. Mother Cabrini came from Chicago, and she came and taught catechism upstairs.
Wow.
And all that. So we even have memories of her because she came to build a hospital in Buffalo, Columbus Hospital.
Right. Okay. Incredible.
So they were all connected. And this is the experience I had, how people were connected. The Jews.
Right. Your spiritual roots, right?
Yeah, spiritual roots. And I didn't do anything.
You were just born into it.
I was the victim.
In a good way.
But everything was exciting. The worst time I had going to kindergarten in a public school because it was so stupid,
Right.
Make rings, paper rings and all that. Then they tell you lies. And my mother would tell me one thing because she was a simple person, uneducated, because they didn't, the Montanaya people, they taught girls how to be mothers.
Right. They didn't want them to have education.
Not that they didn't want them. It wasn't the culture.
And it wasn't practical.
You had no choice.
Right.
That's what it was. The boys went to school and the girls didn't.
Right.
The girls learned to sew and cook.
Right.
So that was it. See, so it was a whole different culture. And I see this as being 93 years old, how the cultures and because I taught cultures and I studied cultures and all that, and I taught cultures. And that's how I fit in. I had to know that to go around the world, to fit in with cultures. And they always had a good training. And that you just have to be who you are.
Right.
And the culture is from the Bible, to learn the Bible, is that we're all equal. We're all human beings. And if you deal with yourselves as human beings, and this is talking about what I'm going to say today, if you talk as being human beings, you're equal. They understand you. You understand them, they understand you. Doesn't matter if they look different, talk different, got different languages, different governments. It makes no difference at all.
Right.
Because they're all confused by all these different stupidities.
Right.
People trying to control them and get money out of them and making them work like slaves, you know. And every government does it. Our own government does it. And everyone in the world does it. And they're all trying to be greedy. And Book of Samuel, I remember the Book of Kings, when the Jews said, "We want a king. We want to be like the Pharaoh." They like the Sedutians, we want a king.
Right.
That's glorified. And they says, "Your king is God. You've got the king is God. He's not gonna trick you. He's not gonna do things." And Samuel says to the people, "Oh, you want a king? Okay, we'll give you Saul. And we'll give you Saul. And you know what's going to happen when you get a king? It's there in the scripture. They're going to slave you.
Right.
Take your daughters and turn them into prostitutes. They will take your land. You will have to give them, make them glorious. They will put your sons in the army. They'll kill them. Young people they'll kill. They won't even allow them to live and all that. But God doesn't do that to you.
Right.
He knows how long you're going to live. He knows the talents he gives you, just like Jesus says in the gospel. It all fits in. Jesus is so true.
Right.
So we have to proclaim Jesus. He's the only one who says it right. He's the only one who says it true. The prophets, Moses, and God says he made us in his image. If we're his image, something's good about us. We don't have to be depressed. We don't have to have a low opinion of ourselves and think we're nothing. And we, in a certain sense, to God, we are nothing. We're grains of sand. But on the other hand, the mystery that God created us, I can't understand it. I can't understand it. Nobody can understand it. It's a mystery. Why am I here? Why are you there? Why am I existing in this particular time? Millions of years, thousands, eons occurred before creation. And here I am now talking here. And I'm not going to be talking too long. I'm not going to be talking next year, today, tomorrow, whatever like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Then he's going to give me eternal life. I can't understand that. If I can't
you can't complain about that.
If I don't understand my existence, I can't understand. It drives me nuts for the first time I heard it. And I remember I was going crazy when I was 10 years old, thinking, eternity. I was listening to eternity and catechism. I don't want eternity. It's never going to end, never going to end. What if I get tired of it?
Right. No, you won't.
I was wondering all these questions. And he says, how come I'm always thinking? How come I'm always thinking? Can I stop thinking and just relax? You see, this is all reality. So then I could see when I studied Aristotle and these people, yes, there's difference between needs and wants. Needs.
Right.
The universal thing that everybody is the same. Everybody is the same. Everybody wants to be recognized. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to get along. Everyone wants peace. Everyone wants acceptance. But wants, wow, it's a difference between saying I need food or saying I want a hamburger.
Right. Or I want dessert.
Yeah, I want dessert. I want to say, when you get into the wants, you're confused.
Right.
It's all supercilious. It isn't solid. But to say, I need to eat. And when you go to visit people in different countries, when I went out, like I'm going to talk now about Thailand.
Okay.
I went to the villages. First I went to Bangkok. Bangkok. Of course, you go to Bangkok and it's just exciting and all this kind of thing. And you just meet with people. So the first thing I always knew, you have to connect. Okay, here I was, a ripe old age of about, I don't know, in my 30s.
You were old.
already had fed up to here with America. went to Australia, met all of these wonderful people being thrown out of other countries. You know, the white Australia policy at that time, and they were inviting immigration because they realized they were losing to the Japanese because they had no population in Australia. So they had to get population, and they wanted white population. They wanted European people. So they came in from the death camps. The Poles came in from the death camps. The people came in from Ireland. They were sick of Ireland. They came in from Scotland. They came from England. The poor people that couldn't make a living in those places, and they populated Australia. And then the missionaries from Africa, the Italians, and the from Africa, and then the ones who left the death camps of Germany. And all these people with all this kind of culture, different cultures, and they all fit in as human beings. They all fit in equally as human beings. The Dutch from Indonesia were being kicked out of Indonesia. All the whites were being kicked out from India. The Eurasians, even the ones who had bicultures, were kicked out because they were too British. Gandhi couldn't handle them, and Nehru couldn't handle them, and they didn't want them around. They didn't want the Muslims there. They kicked them out to Pakistan. So it's all this, everything is a turmoil.
Right.
And all of these first, then find out they were heroes.
Right.
I had a student in Australia he was a teenager, but he had been 4 years in Auschwitz from the age of 12 to 16.
Wow.
Stan. And here he was. He wanted to get knowledge. He wanted to become a priest.
Wow.
And I was hearing the stories. Being of Jewish descent, I absorbed what the ones who had been in the death camps were saying. I said, that was it. I was a Christian.
Right.
I was a Catholic.
Right.
My name, I would have executed.
Right.
My name was Simeon.
Right.
My Jewish name was Baruch Shimon.
Right.
Benedict Simeon.
Right.
Romuald, they would have knocked off because it was Romuald's a German name.
That would have saved you.
It's a German name. If I was a spy. Right. But anyway, so that's the way it is, I'm just a chick out of an egg looking around and wondering what the world is around me.
Right.
So that's it. And then finding where I fit in and don't fit in. My mother gave me bad advice going because she was a very kind woman, a holy woman, and accepting everybody. And she says, you're going to go to school and you're going to make a lot of friends. Well, I was making friends with my brother. I was making friends with the kids on the street. What's so different about that? Oh, you're going to make special friends there. And I asked my father, what am I going to do when I go to school? He says, first thing you're going to do when you go to school, you're going to find out that the teachers are liars.
Your mom said that?
My father.
Oh, your father.
My father was different from my mother. His culture was Jewish and intellectual.
Right.
He had gone to college. He didn't come to
You
America.
were 6 years old and he told you that?
I was 5 years old. And he says, she's going to lie to you the first day you go in there. They're going to lie to me? Yeah. He says, they're going to tell you that they know more than your parents.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm 93 years old. He was right. He was right. They're not educators. They're indoctrinators.
Wow.
They know something in a book and they're trying to push it into your head. They got something. A 5-year-old is supposed to do this. He's supposed to play with blocks. He's supposed to skip. He's supposed to do all the stupid things. He's supposed to read fairy tales. He's supposed to read that when butter is made by a tiger running around a tree and turns into butter. How stupid can you get? How stupid can you get? And I was a kid. And I says,
you're a realist.
Turns into butter. Black Sambo.
Right.
They're already teaching you cultures are different. People are inferior to you. Lies, all lies. And that was the time when they were knocking down Hoover, who, for me, I could see he was really a great man. And they were electing Roosevelt in 1932. And Roosevelt was a liar. He was a liberal. He was no more better than Pelosi today. Yeah.
Rami.
I began to evaluate. And so when I came to people like Aristotle, the big three, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, I loved all three. Of course, Socrates was a simple guy who really learned from conscience and observation and all that kind of thing. Plato instead was confused because his family were liberals. His family were running Athens. They were politicians, but he learned different after they killed Socrates, and he got shocked. And then his student was Aristotle, and Aristotle says, "Truth is reality. Truth is reality." He's back to the Bible. He's back to Jesus. Truth is reality. And then you learn, well, what's wisdom? What's wisdom? Well, you have to observation, the senses. Then you go from observation to judgment. Mm-hmm. You have to judge. You have to look at all different things, and you have to make evaluations. So you have to think, and you have to think looking at reality that you see from your senses. And then from that, you make judgments. You evaluate things. You see, there's good, there's bad. There's confusion, there's sincerity, there's lying and all that, You see all the opposites. And you have to make a judgment. And then when you get the judgment, you act. If you don't act, you're nothing. You're nothing. What does Jesus say? Use your talents. Everyone's given a talent by God. There's the Bible again. You're given talents. And your talents are, some have one talent, some have another talent. I was different from my brother. My brother was sort of a romantic. He liked to draw pictures. He liked to sing. I was trying to sing. I couldn't sing. I was and I was jealous of him. The people were saying, "Okay, you kids sing." And my father was teaching us songs, and we're singing. Little kids, singing the sweet little voice, and his voice came out good. And they used to say, "Okay, I give you a penny. You shut up." And I give him 2 cents if he sings.
That's funny.
He became a singer.
I'll pay you to not sing.
He paid me to not sing. You see, and I saw people were different. People didn't. I wanted to sing, but they wouldn't let me sing. So when I went to Australia, they were stopping people from singing and the youth from singing. I started a singing class. I started singing, and I found a person who was a old opera singer, and she taught us these breaths and all this, and she teaches us. And all of a sudden, from singing "La Donna Mobile," she says, "Get that voice in. You sing from you get bellows, or your chest and your lungs are the bellows. Don't sing in your mouth. Sing it out and sing out." And I said, "La donna mobile, quo pure momento. And anybody can sing. Sing
Right.
it in your heart. And so all the people that the nuns threw out of school, that they couldn't sing and tell them to shut up, I got, and I call it mein Gruppe, my gang. And we're going to sing because you're happy. Sing because you want to sing.
Right.
Then this one who was an opera singer came and taught us a few things. And all of a sudden, everybody was singing. And so they couldn't sing. They didn't know Christmas carols and stuff like that because they were Aussies. And so I said, we're going to make, I was doing poetry and stuff like that because whatever I learned poetry. I couldn't remember poetry because I discovered that I did not have a recall mind.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get languages because why? Languages are stupid. They're incidental. You know, the thought, every language has the same thoughts.
Right.
You say love, and the other one wants to say amor, and the other wants to say a different word in Russian, whatever it is. That's a stupidity. They all have different words for
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
But they're all thinking the same thoughts, right?
Right.
They're all the same. We
So
got
why
the same
use
thoughts. So I'm working this all out in my head. So I write poetry, Christmas, the words of the Gloria in the Mass, and I put it according to the Christmas Carol. And I call it Christmas Carol Mass. And then we're aghast. They said,
Wow.
It can't be done. My club can do it.
Right.
We did it. We recorded it. There were sisters that came in from the missions from New Guinea. They listened to it. They said, you got the music for it? No, I can't write music.
I can relate to you there.
You see? So, but you fit in with reality. They were saying, you can't write music unless you can read music. That's nonsense. You can sing it.
Right.
The person who could play it and knows what the notes are, they could put it out right away. And
Right.
someone who could do that, he played by ear. He never learned the note. And he composed stuff. He composed. He treats voice masses. And he's deceased now, but he was one of my students. And he could do that. And they were trying to teach the piano. He would close it. They come back there and he's playing so marvelously like Mozart. And he was reading the music.
Right.
As soon as he could hear something, he played it. He had pitch, perfect pitch.
Right. In his head.
So you see, so I'm looking at the world and I'm saying, these missionaries, they're ordinary guys. They were ordinary guys. They didn't have any degrees. They were just missionaries. Some were priests, some were not priests. People were going out there. These girls were going to New Guinea. They didn't like school and all this kind of thing. And I was teaching them the same things. And they went and joined these missionaries that were in New Guinea.
Right.
And they were wonderful. They were peaceful.
Right.
A Christian brother who had come from New Guinea, New Guinea, and I said, gee whiz, this guy's he was a Christian brother, but he says, you don't need to know all this stuff. All you do is go there and listen to the natives, fit in with them, and they love you.
Right.
And they teach you. It's not
Right.
what you learn in school, it's what you learn from people. See? So this is how I'm going. So when I'm going to tell the story, I better get to it.
Right. About Thailand, right?
Thailand. So after I could see I had all of this knowledge, because I don't have a single degree. The only degree I have is a diploma from grammar school,
Oh.
and they put the wrong name on it. I can't even prove it's me.
So you don't even have a diploma from
The teachers didn't even know the difference between Romuald and Raymond.
Oh,
They call me
there's a
Raymond.
big difference, right?
As long as I was in grammar school, I was Raymond.
Oh,
Simeon.
right,
If I can't prove I'm the other guy, I'm Romuald.
right.
My birth certificate, I found out after that, my birth certificate said Romuald.
Right. Wow.
But my Uncle Dan was Donato.
Okay.
You know, my Uncle Raymond was Romuald.
Romuald.
My
Right.
Uncle Charles was was another name because it began Carlos or whatever it was.
Carlos.
I forgot. It wasn't Carlos, but another name. But some Italian name that began with a C. So they gave him the name Charles when he came to the immigration.
They just changed the name to make it more American.
Well, Isaac Berlin became Irving Berlin. They did it for these people too. They did it to everybody.
No, they did it in our family.
They did it in your family too.
Yes, my great-grandpa Pashakovsky, his brother took the name Parker as the last name. We're 100% Polish. So my mom had, yes, we had uncles with the last name Parker, but my great-grandpa Kazimierz kept Pashakovsky. But they did the same thing in our family.
The same thing happened to all of us. So life is so confusing and all that. So I learned from all these different people, and I says, if they did it, I can do it.
Right.
You know, here I was teaching. I went to all of these schools, and I learned everything. My favorite book when I was in grammar school was a dictionary. I was learning the dictionary. I read the dictionary. My father had taught me that if your teacher doesn't teach you, if you're confused by what she says, ask me. If I don't know, go to Encyclopedia Britannica.
Right.
Give me the Encyclopedia Britannica in the school. And so I had to go to the public library, the main public library. Go to the top one. Go to the top one. Here I am. They give me these kids' books. I had to get somebody, my older sisters, to get the books for me. Or I pretend I was a scholar or something like that, and I asked for the book. They went and put it on the desk, and I read it. And I wasn't supposed to read the encyclopedia.
Wow.
And I found out what was true, what was false. You know, what was true, what was false. What the teacher was saying was not correct. And when I said, oh, I know the answer. Teacher, I know the answer. And I give them the answer that was in the encyclopedia, and she says, shut up. She didn't know the answer. I could tell. She didn't know the answer. And she was wrong. She was contradicted the encyclopedia. See? She didn't know why, a simple question, why the Antarctic is colder than the Arctic. She said it because it was in the book. But she couldn't tell. I said, they're the same distance from the equator. Same, I was in third grade.
Right.
Same distance from the equator, but one's colder than the other. Why?
Why is it?
Go to the encyclopedia.
Okay.
The Antarctic is a landmass.
Oh, right.
It's a landmass.
Exactly.
The ice is 100 feet, a mile thick.
That makes sense.
The winds are blowing. The winds are blowing. It's getting colder and colder.
And your teacher didn't believe you?
What does she know? And the North Pole is over water.
Oh, right. No, that makes total sense. I never thought of it.
2 or 3 feet thick, and below that is water. Water can't be colder than 32 degrees. Otherwise, it turns to ice.
Right.
And it doesn't turn to ice easily because there's salt in it.
Right.
It's so simple.
Right.
A third grade person could understand it, but the teacher didn't know it. And she shut me up because it made her look bad, right? And I didn't know why she shut me up, because I had the answer.
Right.
I was teaching her. And she didn't
so how did you get to Thailand? I want to hear this story.
So I got to Thailand because I didn't know where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where I was going. I got in the airplane when I left Australia. I figured I had done enough there, and people were now focusing on me.
Right.
To me, this was embarrassing.
Okay.
It was embarrassing because if focusing on me, I didn't have enough to deal with their whole life.
Right.
And so I said, I see from these missionaries, the people that they went to, and there was a missionary there from America who was a Capuchin Franciscan. He had a German, Blockinger, his name was, from West Virginia. And he had gone to the missions at that time. You go to the missions, you go for life.
Right.
He dedicated himself. He's going to go for life. He's going to stay there until they kill him or he dies.
Right.
Okay. But when he went to China, he went to northern China, and where the communists later came in. The communists got him and all that, and he wanted to stay there and work with his people in China, and they tortured him and broke his back, and he became a hero to the people that saw how intent he was, like a martyr.
Right.
They kicked him out of China, so he went to Australia because that way he could get back into China. And
incredible.
You know, he never did. He never did. But I met him.
Right.
He's my hero. He's a type of person. And I met these missionaries from Africa, the same thing. They want to go back to Africa. The others want to go back to, the Jesuits wanted to go back to Indonesia, you know, but they couldn't. But they were waiting to go back. They don't want to go back to Holland. They don't want to go back to their own culture. They were not satisfied. I met Archbishop Polio, who was an Italian in China, and they tortured him for 2 years. He came to America, and he was going on television, not that time television, radio. With he made connection with Fulton Sheen. They blended in and all this kind of thing. And I met the guy, and he's telling me, he says, I want to go to China, but I want to go to India. I want to go to India because the one who was teaching me in sixth form school, the school that had no degrees or anything like that, but I was learning in that school. That's another story. But he was in India since he was 15 years old. He was with the Rajas and all this kind of stuff, and he was a missionary. When the Pope wanted to make him a bishop, he decided to leave. He was not worthy. He was not worthy. He came to America. He was going to go back to Italy. He came to New York, and he found out there's no sixth form school in America, in New York. So he formed a sixth form school. He's buried there now.
Wow.
He never went back.
Wow.
He was my teacher, you know, and I learned.
That's the example that you had.
Yeah, the book.
Those types of people.
To Trite, where we were in school. So we were near West Point. So he got the book from West Point. We were learning books from West Point about history and stuff like that. And I could see that the books from West Point, a different kind of history, genetic history they were teaching, cause and effect history, the real history of the past. Because the military have to know, wherever they go country, they have to know the cultures, the real cultures, otherwise they can't deal with the people. But if you learn political history that you learn in school, which they mix up politics and all this kind of thing and tell you a lot of nonsense, like the British were bad to us, although we have British common law, but they're bad to us. The King George didn't treat us right, so we got rid of them. Well, but don't get rid of the culture. Don't get rid of the civilization. Don't get rid of the things that are correct. And that's what they do in America now. They get rid of all of our culture. They don't even agree with the Constitution anymore. Okay, so
you're going to Thailand.
Okay, now, so I didn't know where to go. All I knew was I had a free ticket. That's another reason. I had gotten a ticket to come to Australia that the Aussies paid for. And it was good for years until you used it, as long as you're going the other way. Round trip.
Right.
So I looked at the round trip and there's Chinese, Singapore. I think I'll go to Singapore. So I'm going to go to Singapore. I had know nothing about Singapore. I mean,
Right.
I knew the history because geography was one of the subjects I loved so much. All the different world was so fascinating. And so the Chinese, I'll go there. And I had met these missionaries from China. I said, I think I'll try China, but you can't go to mainland China. You can go to Singapore. So I took my flight for Singapore. I didn't know where I was going. I had no idea where I was going to sleep that night. I didn't know what I was going to eat. Nothing at all. I had $200 in my pocket.
Wow.
And so I got in the plane and I'm connecting. See, I learned about connecting to people. And I saw, there was this priest sitting in the seat and there was an empty seat next to him. I went and took the seat. And I said, hi, praise the Lord. And we're connected. And he says, where are you going? I said, going to Singapore. What are you going to do there? I don't know. I'm going to meet the people. What are you going to do?
Right.
We start talking. And he says, a neophyte. So right away, he says, I'll tell you what. They pull out a little black book. I know people had black books of their contacts around the world.
Right.
Tourists. But this priest had a black book. And I found out he had a list of all the contacts wherever he had been. All the contacts that other missionaries gave him.
Right.
Missionaries connected missionaries to missionaries.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm a missionary.
Right.
He says, you go to Singapore, you get there at the airport, and no matter who it is, no matter what language he speaks, get a taxi, and you got $200, you can get there. Say, Novena Church. Pronounce it correctly. Novena Church.
Right.
He will take you to the missionaries.
Wow. Super. And you can always trust a missionary. It's true. If you can get somewhere, y'all help each other.
And you can help the people you can trust.
Right.
They live there. They know the realities.
Right.
They know the realities.
It is.
They're not illusions.
Right.
So that I'm in Singapore. And Singapore, they're Redemptorist fathers.
Oh, super.
The church is full of Chinese coming there praising the Virgin Mary and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
I says, wow, you got a lot of Catholics here. He says, no, only a small percentage are Catholics.
Right.
These are Chinese. They don't have a real religion. But they honor us. They honor the Virgin Mary because she's the Queen of Heaven.
Right.
The Queen of Heaven. The Seventh-day Adventist church across the way is empty, the Protestants, because they're trying to tell them about the Seventh-day Adventist doctrine. And they go to church on Saturday. And he says, they don't go to that church, but they come here, they're crowded. He says, we got 9 novenas a day. And
wow.
They're crowded with the Chinese. And the Chinese are there because they see the Queen of Heaven. And we honor her son.
Right.
Wow. A mother who doesn't honor her son, who's fantastic, who teaches people. And they're listening. They're learning. And now you know the Chinese, when they become Catholics, wow. You can't get it. They don't believe the Pope that says make a deal with the communists.
Right.
No deals. We're Catholics. We live our life underground. You see the difference. So I saw that how people are straight arrows. I call them.
Right.
I learned from the Indians.
Right. You gotta learn something from everyone.
You can't shoot with a crooked arrow.
No.
There's a straight arrow if you want to hit the target. And they're straight arrows. So here I've got connections. I got a connection. He just wrote it down for me. I did it. And here I met the Redemptorist fathers. And they said, oh, you can teach? I'm a teacher, right?
Right.
Whatever they call me, whatever title they give me, I'm a teacher.
Right.
And I teach religion. I teach the gospel. I teach Jesus Christ. I fit in. And he says, oh, some of our priests have to go they're sick or they're on vacation. He said,
Right.
could you take over with these Catholics?
Right.
Yeah, I took over. They were Chinese, but they spoke English because they were.
I was going to say what language they did.
They were under the British.
Oh, okay.
Singapore.
Right.
They were under the Brits.
Okay.
So many years and all that. So then from Singapore, I'm hearing about all the other countries and say, oh, the people come. They're the Americans of the Orient. They know. Don't ever underestimate the Chinese. That's what they better listen to. Don't underestimate the Chinese. They've had civilization and culture from ancient times, not just from Mao Zedong, but from Laozi. So, and I was studying all these people. I was studying Laozi. Yeah, he fit in. He says that there's no such thing as government that's not your father. Back to the Bible. God is our father. He's the government. All these rules and all these laws that they make are stupid. They don't fit in. They tell us we can't breathe on somebody. We got to be 6 feet apart. It's all nonsense.
How did you get to Thailand?
So I got to Thailand because there was somebody from Thailand there. Because the Redemptorist Fathers had a mission in Thailand.
Now, is that where
and they were from California.
Is that where you had the run-in? Where you almost...
I went to Thailand.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, after I got sick of Singapore, I had an experience in Singapore and went to Malaysia, I go to Thailand.
Uh-huh.
I was stuck on Thailand. I found out that the Thai were pro-American. It was easy to get there. The king there at that time was born in Cambridge.
Wow.
And he was pro-American. Okay, that king. He's dead now. His son, who when I was there, I think was 12 years old or 14 years old, and he's the king now, and he doesn't have any power at all. Okay, but that's how it goes. So Thailand. Now I was interested in Thailand. Thailand was, and I read the history. I know the history, and they were pro-American and anti-British.
Uh-huh.
And they were being given the wrong name. They were called Siam. The English called them Siam. Siam because the English were in Burma, and the people from Burma were the enemies of the Thai, and gave them a name, a down name.
Right.
Down name. And Sham, the language means filthy and dirty and stupid.
Right.
And so they were called Siamese. But the Thai called themselves Thai.
Right.
Free people.
Right.
The free people. Just like the Sioux Indians in America. We call them Sioux, cutthroats. But the French call them Sioux. But they call themselves Dakota. Dakota, the free people.
Right.
Same word. See? You go to the Eskimos. They call themselves Inuk. Inuk. The people. The men.
Wow. So if they were pro-American, how did you get yourself into trouble there?
Well, because even though we were pro-Americans, some Americans who were there were not doing things right.
Oh.
Yeah, they were confused because they didn't know the history. They were sending people there who were from the Peace Corps. And I think Sebastian has connection with the Peace Corps, so he understands this. So it was great. They're teaching them English. They're teaching them all that. But you go to the villages there, when I go there from Bangkok, and I had experiences there with the princess of Thailand, who was the daughter of the king. And she was the head of education in Thailand. And she, like me, I made contact with her through the Chinese because she says, oh, he's an educator, an American educator. I can learn something from him. And she was a straight arrow. She was a straight arrow. And she's trying to help her people become educated.
Right.
And that was good. I didn't even believe she was a princess until she sent for me, sent the chauffeur in a Rolls Royce.
Oh, goodness.
And I said, maybe she is a princess.
She has something.
I just knew her by her name, and I couldn't pronounce it because it's such a long name, and I had two on the end, which meant she was royal family.
So what happened?
So I went with the trouble that was happening to Americans who were Peace Corps, where every time I went to a village, and I didn't even know the names of the villages, but I went to a village to meet people and mix in with them. They had these people of the Peace Corps, and the men were treated like gods. People needed a well, they built a well. They always accomplished what the people needed.
Right.
But the girls, they were MAs or whatever they were from wherever they went. They learned about sanitation. They learned about hygiene, and that the people of Siam didn't have soap. They didn't use toilets. They were
right.
washing it. The women were washing in the canals and all that. They had to teach them.
Right.
They had to teach them their way. And this is where the biggest mistake you can make. To go to a people and teach them your way. The first thing you have to do is learn their way.
Right.
Now, you know that. See, that's why it's enjoyed talking to you. Because you have experience. You weren't a greenhorn American like I was. You learned their way. And when I heard the thing, I could see she's following their way. She's
right.
To the people that are there.
Right.
And then she fits in.
Right.
That's what a missionary does. That's what
right.
Jesus did. Jesus didn't go to a place and say, I'm the Lord Almighty,
right.
do what I want or I'll zap you.
Right.
John the evangelist had said, they don't agree to us. Get rid of them. Kill them.
Right. No.
You don't know what spirit you are. You see? He came as a son of man in his humanity, as a baby, as a person who needed others.
Right.
He learned from them. It was as if he was learning. He already knew it. He knew everything. But he acted like, in a certain way, he was a con artist. Because
right.
he didn't tell him he was God. I'm just an ordinary guy here, a carpenter in Nazareth. I'm helping Joe.
There you go, I'm helping Joe. So what happened? I want to hear your story.
So with these girls, people didn't even want to talk to them.
Right.
They were away from them. They were, the women pulled their children away from them. They said, the boys talked to the men, and the men accepted them. And everybody accepted them. If the men accepted them, the women accepted them. The village accepted them. And they were like heroes. But they were doing what the people needed.
Right.
But the girls, they had all of this knowledge in their heads. They were supposed to teach them hygiene. That was one of the things. Well, in other words, you're saying if you're teaching them hygiene, you're telling the people they're dirty.
Right.
Say, your way is better than their way.
Right.
And then they didn't go into the canals to wash and labor. So the people really thought. So the girl, I says, you don't fit in with these people. Would you allow me? Because I was concerned.
Right.
They were forced to be there for 2 years. They could not go back to America because then it would look like failure to the politicians that sent them there.
Right.
The men not only wanted to be for the 2 years, they stayed for 4 years, 6 years.
Wow.
Yes, because everybody accepted them.
Right.
So, in other words, the girls had no connection.
Right.
Men had connection. So I says, I could find out if you be honest with me and tell me what you're doing and what you're doing. He says, yeah. He says, and I'll find out from the women and I'll find out from the Thai people why they don't accept you. There's a reason. There's got to be a reason.
Right.
Reality. There's something that's not real.
Right.
So I'll find out for you. But I'll say it my way. I'll say it their way. Okay, so I went and talked to them and all that kind of thing. And so to the women, why you pull your children away from them? Because they're prostitutes. Ah, amazing. Listen to the people.
Right.
Why do they think? Why? No,
Right.
you have to analyze. You have to figure it out. You have to make a judgment. Why? They're not telling me why. They don't want to offend anybody. They're Buddhists. They don't offend anybody. They don't say their mind. They don't say their mind. If you don't want to offend anybody, that's crazy because you got to hold back what you're thinking.
Right.
See? So they don't want to offend them. They don't tell them why they don't like. They're divided from them. Yeah, they like them. They like them. The nice girls and all this kind of thing. And he says, but they're telling you this and that. He says, well, they stink. They stink. They think that you're dirty and you got all that sweat on you and all this kind of thing. We don't. We go into the canal every day with our sarongs around us. They're private. They even have a sense of modesty. And all the women. And they get the mud and the sand and they rub it on their bodies and they come out of the water and they rub themselves with coconut oil. Wow, they got beautiful skin. But they admire the American girls because the girls are white. They like to be white. You go into the temple. You go into the temple and God is white. And the lower in the Buddhist temple and the other angels are blue because they're in the heavens. Those are the angels. And the black ones are the devils.
Oh, and then they can, I understand.
So the Thai girls want to be white.
Oh,
they have things over their
and Robbie.
These big things to shade them so they don't get.
That's so sad.
You see? So they admire these girls, but they think they're not washed. What do you mean they wash? What they don't see, they don't know.
Right.
They didn't see them going to the canal with the other women.
Right.
But they had bathtubs, special bathtubs in these huts.
Right.
They were private. They had fat soap on. They had to use perfumes.
Right.
They stink.
That's funny.
And not only did the people know they stunk, the animals knew they stunk. Animals wouldn't go near them. The water buffalo. Those girls went near the water buffalo wearing perfumes and all that, they would attack them.
Wow.
They were not eating native food.
Wow.
And they were putting all this perfume. It's the water buffalo that have kids on their back in the rice fields, and they look so pleasant and kind and all that. They're taking orders from. They move their foot, and the water buffalo goes left. You move his other foot, and they go right.
Right.
They push their head down there and say stop. They get them all. These are kids on their backs. They're 10 years old.
But the other women, they wouldn't even listen to.
You ride in a Jeep on the road, keep away from the water buffaloes if you're not eating native food, if you don't have aroma out of your pores.
That makes sense, though. It makes total sense. So how did you end up in...
So I'm saying, I says, I'll tell you how these people can accept you. Do what they do.
Right. You eat what they eat. You do what they do. You live like them, and then you die.
Live like them.
Right.
Also, you told them that these boys are not your husbands. If these boys are your friends.
Right.
Your friends. That's what they say in colleges, right?
Uh-huh.
They're a friend. They might be in bed with them, but they're a friend. They're not married.
Right.
And according to the native people, you have to have a man to protect you if you're a woman.
Okay.
Your father, your uncle, your village.
Right.
Your brothers. There's no friends.
Right.
They tell you what to do. They tell you they didn't know what to do, and they did it.
Right.
And you think they're enslaved.
So they couldn't relate.
They couldn't relate to them in any way. So I says, I'll say it to them in my way.
Right.
So they knew about President Johnson at the time. And we had the main road going from Bangkok all the way to Laos, to Nang Khai, to Vietnam, is called Freedom Road, the military road that the Americans built to get their vehicles and military work and helping the Thai army. Okay, so they know that. And they're friends. Americans are friends of them. Americans help them and all this kind of thing. So I says, there's I didn't say President Johnson. I says, King Johnson. King Johnson loves Thailand. He built these roads here. He sends our soldiers here. He sends these people. And he's a great king. And they understood this because the king there, he had 4 or 5 wives. You never knew which one he was with.
Oh, and so the king sent these women to help you.
These kings, these are the daughters of the king. He's got.
Oh, you're brilliant. Did it work?
He doesn't know what to do with him.
Did it work?
He doesn't know what to do with them. So he teaches them to help you.
Right.
But they're kind of stupid. And they don't learn. No, they don't know. And
You said that?
Yeah. And they understood it. And
right.
In a positive way.
Right.
In other words, they don't know your culture. I was saying they don't know your culture. Right. They come here and they're these politicians that he's got a lot of people around him that don't know anything about Thailand. And and they had piles of toilets, toilet bowls.
Right.
No sanitation.
Right.
They use their manure for their crops.
Right.
They weren't going to waste it.
Wow.
And they got I see a pile of toilet bowls. What are the people? They didn't know what they were for.
Right. No, that I understand. That I understand.
Every time a shipment came in, the pile got bigger.
No, I understand. I remember once in Russia, a little child in church had a runny nose. And I took out a Kleenex and I gave it to him. And he said, "Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. This is such a treasure. What is it?" And he folded it up and I was trying to tell him to wipe his nose. And he said, "I would never do that to your gift." And he put it in his pocket.
See, I understand. That's why
You've never seen a Kleenex.
That's why I like to talk to you, Mary. But you understand. You went through it.
I do.
So I went there, and one thing the missionaries had told me, the American missionaries, they didn't know what I learned.
Right.
They didn't know cultures.
Right.
And they were trying to fit in.
Right.
There were things that they were doing that the natives liked.
Right.
The fact that they were celibate. Because all their monks were celibate.
Right. Right.
Okay. They didn't like the Protestant ones because they were married. And they saw their wives bossing them.
Right.
It's the opposite of what they were doing.
Right.
And their women used to yell at them, these ministers. So they didn't like the ministers. So the Catholics really had a great in there because they were celibate. And I was a bachelor.
Right.
So I fit right in.
You did, right.
See? And they're listening to me because I'm listening to them. And I'm taking their way. So I says, you have to teach them how to be like you. Right. To get them your way. Then I went to these girls of the Peace Corps and I told them how to connect.
Right.
How to connect. Don't go in bathtubs away from them. They think you don't bathe. Right. See? They think, don't boss these guys, these Peace Corps boys. Don't let them, don't think you're the hot shots. Right. You're telling them what to do, what they're doing wrong or right. Right. Because once you point a finger at them, you're in trouble. Right. Their women don't point fingers at their husbands.
Right.
They give them they plant the rice fields, and they're there pushing the things there day and night, and they're just doing it, and they're happy that someone pays them when they work on the roads. If someone pays them, and their men are there who just watch to protect them, and they don't do any work.
Well, it sounds like you really connected with the people. So how did you get into trouble?
I'm going to tell you. So I wanted to do something like the missionaries, learn why. Here they were, the Redemptorist fathers from California were there for years and didn't know how to connect to the people just because they listened to the Buddhist monks. They listened to the Buddhist monks. The Buddhist monks are always going with that bowl, the food bowl, the lamp thing, and the people give them food and all that. And then they go in the village and they sit down and they chant and they teach them about Buddhism and all those things. And whoever wants to go around, especially the men, it's the men mainly, so the women got to work, and the men are there and they listen and nod their heads and show respect to them and namaste, and make sure your head is below their heads, and all that. So I says, well, if they're doing it, I could do it. So I went to the village. And I didn't go to teach them. I had my Bible, I had my book, a small Bible, a big Bible. I had a cross. I always wore a cross, something to show I was a Christian. I had a big cross that the Pope had given me, a mission cross that's another story. A big mission cross that the missionaries.
Wow, beautiful.
Got this from Pope Pius XII.
Wow, that's a treasure.
Yeah. Well, I still have it.
I know, that's a treasure.
1958.
Wow, incredible.
And that was the holy year, the Marian holy year of Fatima. Okay, when in 1959 they were supposed to tell the secret of Fatima, which they never told. And one of the secrets they said was the Pope was going to get shot.
Wow.
Okay, so it's like prophecies. You don't know prophecies until they're fulfilled.
Fulfilled, right.
You see, when they're fulfilled, then you understand.
Right.
Okay, so
you took that cross in your
I told
Bible.
these monks going in, nobody stopped them from going to the villages. They
Right.
went in the village and all that. They were welcome.
Right.
In the center of the village and began to chant and pray and all that. And people went and sat around them. They prayed with them and all this kind of thing. Then they start talking to them. They talk to them. They're teaching Buddhism. Well, I studied Buddhism. I studied religions before I went there. I was teaching the history of religions. And so I knew something about it. Not that I knew everything, but I had to learn from them. So I went there and I sat down. I sat down with the men. They looked at me at first. They saw the cross. Nothing offends them. They're Buddhists. They accept everything. The only thing they even accept, as Buddha says, except if a tiger comes after you and he's hungry, at least give him an arm. I thought it was crazy.
That's funny.
I'm not a Buddhist.
That's funny.
So they're not offended by anybody. They weren't offended by the communists. That's why the communists took over and kicked them out of India.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't fight. They didn't fight. They're not offended. No. We like to coexist. If you coexist with your enemy, the enemy takes over. That's our way of seeing it. Okay?
Right.
So I sat down there and they got to know me. They told me I was peaceful. I was trying to chant. I was doing the Gregorian chants. They were chanting. I was chanting as well, Gregorian chant. And I would mumble if I didn't know the words and all. And they were happy that I was collaborating.
Right.
And the Buddhist monks were happy. They were happy, and all this kind of thing. And as long as I kept my head below theirs, and I realized that you're supposed to do that. And say Savati. Peace be with you. and put your hands there. Okay, show that you got no weapons. So I'm there. They got used to me. So they had the Peace Corps there. They had the men of the Peace Corps. They were peaceful. So, and they were right in the, I don't know, remember the name of the village or whatever, but these villages that were along the Mekong River, the Mekong River. And across there was Cambodia. Okay? And every once in a while, soldiers would come marching down around, and they had a bamboo fence on the river. That was the border.
Right.
And,
but it worked.
It worked because the Cambodians didn't come over, right?
Right.
And when they were Buddhists, they were Buddhists and Buddhists,
right.
Cambodians. But the communists took over. Pol Pot took over. He turned them from Buddhists into vicious communists.
Where, in Cambodia or in Thailand?
In Cambodia.
Okay.
Thailand was peaceful.
Okay.
So, the refugees from those areas, from Laos, from North Vietnam, were coming into Thailand.
Okay.
But Thailand, they were accepted.
Right.
Accepted. Okay. So you had Christians coming in from these countries too. People that want to be peaceful. Okay. So I was peaceful. So make sure you don't carry a knife and all this kind of stuff. And
right.
Don't show any kind of danger to them. So I'm saying, and so they got used to me. They got used to me like the people in the Peace Corps. Okay. And then finally, since they saw I had a wooden cross, whatever I had, I always had a symbol, and I had my little Bible or whatever I had. And so I was not embarrassed. They weren't embarrassed that I had a Bible or
right.
a little Bible. I had those little small things I could put in my pocket, a pocket Bible and all that. And I read it, and the Lord would teach me how to meet with people. Okay? So, and they would go with theirs. Sometimes they were real primitive. They had their primitive books. They had things written on banana leaves.
Yes. Super.
You see? So they got used to me. They see I was peaceful. So eventually, they're asking me to share. And I'm sharing. And you say, what's your belief? Well, they had this belief that I thought was kind of crazy. But metempsychosis, that you nirvana, they had no good idea of who God is. It's
right.
The peaceful place and life in the sky, whatever it is, that you have to be purified. Each generation, you're purified. When you die and your breath goes out, it goes into a little baby that breathes for the first time.
Oh, wow.
That's your, if he has your ideas and all that, he's yourself in a new generation.
Wow, yeah.
You're going from one generation being purified. But my question would be, as a Christian, as a realist, is that
right.
What if that next guy does something wrong?
Right.
He's not
right.
purified. Someone else got to purify him. And that's what their thing is. They don't know. They don't know. It's a mystery to them. You move the prayer wheels and all this kind of thing, and you're getting married, but we're the prayer wheel, And to me, but I don't tell them. I think it's
right. But you see in that their desire for purity, which is a good thing. You find something that's good that you can connect to.
So they're telling you are a Christian. So
right.
They knew about Christians. They also knew about the killing of John Kennedy.
Uh-huh.
So he was their hero because he was like a martyr to them.
Right.
I don't think he's a hero, but that's another story. So
we got to get to your story.
Yeah. So they're accepting me. The first thing you have to do is to be accepted. You have to make the contact. And the contact you make is doing it their way.
Right.
I sat down. I listened to the monks. I endured it and all that until I could see that they're accepting me.
Right.
They're happy when I come and sit down now.
Right.
Before, they were not sure.
Right.
Maybe they thought I was a Peace Corps guy who was just supposed to dig a well.
Right.
But they were accepting me. They accepted me because I was white, because I was American, whatever it was.
Right.
I didn't do anything. I was just me.
Right.
And they accept me. And then they say, what does your religion teach? What does your Christ teach? You're a Buddha. Your Buddha is Jesus. My Buddha is Jesus.
Right.
I tell them, my Buddha is Jesus.
Right.
You know? And my Buddha just didn't sit there and meditate on his navel.
Right.
He was active. I learned that part from Gilbert Chesterton. He was active.
Right.
There. Think, judge, and act. Think, judge, and act. Connect, think, judge, and act. What's our action? What is Jesus' action? So now they're trapped, right?
Right.
They're trapped. I've got the floor.
Exactly.
The Buddhist monks like me. I'm respectful to them. They move on, and here I am, and they're asking me about Jesus. They're asking me. I'm not going there and pointing the finger at them and telling them that they're pagans. I'm not telling them anything at all. I'm just relating, witnessing.
I don't see how that got you into trouble.
Let me tell you. It's a long story. So, you see, I told you, Mary, I have so much in my head.
I know. You got 93 years of life.
And so I'm teaching them, and I'm teaching them, Jesus doesn't say it like Buddha, but he's our Buddha. He's our Buddha.
Right.
He didn't say he was against Buddha. He's our Buddha.
Right.
And he's teaching us the way of life.
Right.
Like Buddha taught you the way of life.
Right.
This is our way of life.
Right.
And so he's teaching us that. He came as an ordinary man.
Right.
But he was really the Son of God. They don't know who God is. God in the universe. So I'm explaining who God is.
Right.
I'm telling them like to an atheist.
Right.
The existence of God.
Right.
There's gotta be someone who's before time started.
Right.
Before things started.
Right.
They understand that.
Right.
Because they don't know who God is.
Right.
God is a mystery to them. So whatever you tell them about God, and God is beyond humans, God is beyond the universe, He's beyond the stars, and He is the creator of everything. They begin to understand.
Right.
They begin to understand that men could not purify themselves. Every time they come to every generation, they do wrong things too. Where's the purification? To them, in fact, in Buddhist religion, it's endless.
Right. So you could teach about Jesus being the one who purified us.
And He purifies us.
Right. That's what I was thinking is how to do that. But
they were
that's
too
awesome.
big for us.
Exactly.
Too much for us. We can't purify ourselves. See how they're listening.
Right.
They're listening to exactly what we're saying in John's gospel.
Right.
What we're saying in the gospel. And I'm saying it not my way, but their way.
Right. Well, that you have to do.
They understand it completely.
Right.
They respect me. They're looking forward to me to come to the village.
Right.
So I'm a success. Not because of what I know, but because of Jesus.
Right.
And it shows up. And then when I went back, I checked things out with these missionaries, American missionaries. He says, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then they tell me more of what they know. And they're informing me.
Right.
I'm informing them and how to make connection. They're informing me.
Right. And you're all doing it.
How there was a disconnection.
Uh-huh.
How they were trying to teach them gospel without going through Buddha.
Right.
See?
You have to relate it.
To them.
It's like St. Paul, who found that altar to the unknown God and said,
exactly.
That is ours.
He saw a woman washing on the street.
Right.
You can reach anybody.
Right.
Because you're human. You see what they're doing and you can relate to them. That's what that's called lectio divina, and that's called witnessing.
Right.
Okay? So they respect me. They respect Americans, whatever it is, whatever it was in their heads. And living their life. And so then one day, this is the interesting part that people would like. Actually, the interesting part is what I'm telling you.
Right.
But people like to see exciting things in the news.
Right.
And that's a lot of hoopla because you just react the way you react, right? And people
Right.
and people who respect you help you, right? You're connected.
Right.
They're not going to let you die. So one day I'm going to the village, and no, they stopped me from going into the village. I don't know why. They're all excited, and I don't know why. And and the head man and the men are going to get me and bring me out. And another one that was there, I don't even know if she was some kind of a Christian missionary or a Peace Corps girl who understood them, who was mixing in with them. But she was there. I didn't even know who she was. But me and this woman, they're getting us out away from the village. And I don't know, they're pushing us out. Come on, go. And they hiding us in the rice fields. Hiding us in the rice fields, right? It's like a wheat field.
The two of you.
It's all up to two of us. Mm-hmm. She was a British, and I was, she wasn't Peace Corps. She was British, and I was, I never got to know who she was. We were very scared, of course.
Right.
We were afraid. Yes, we were scared. We didn't know what was happening.
Right.
And we heard noise behind in the village. We could hear noise. We knew that something was happening. We didn't know what was happening. And we were in there. And we were there until it died down. It died down, nighttime, whatever. Get back. I decided, can't go back there. I don't know what's happening there. I go back to where the missionaries are. And their mission, the Redemptionists. And I go there, and I'm going there, and I'm myself. She went, I don't know where this woman went, but scared stiff, and I say we were watering the rice.
Yeah.
Scared stiff.
Right.
Hungry, bladder.
Right.
Letting out, that kind of thing. So, and we go back when it was safe, no more noise and all this kind of thing. Nobody coming for us. So go back to Freedom Road, back to where the missionaries were. And I went back there, and he said, you're here.
Right.
Hey, I'm here. Says, what's the matter? Says, 2 people were killed in that village. 2 people were killed in that village. The Cambodians.
I'm sorry, I have to fix my phone, my battery is out. We've talked too long.
Oh.
But I don't know. I'm going to have to.
Can I stop?
No, I want to get to your story. There we go. I'll be with you just a little longer. I think it'll balance.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Sorry.
So
I just said the phone is about to turn off. So.
And the missionaries are greeting me.
Right.
What happened? They're all shocked. What happened?
Right.
And I said, well, what happened? I don't know. I was in the rice field hiding.
Right.
I wasn't in the village today. And they got me into the rice field. And he says, what happened? He says, soldiers are coming. The soldiers are coming. The Thai soldiers are coming. He says, the Cambodians came across the river.
Oh.
Cambodians came across the river. He said, apparently they came to get rice. They came to get supplies and all this kind of thing. And so I didn't know what the whole story was.
Right.
I have to go back there. And so when I go back and it's all connected then, and they tell him, he says, and the soldiers come back and they report us out. Nobody go into that area. It's a dangerous area. You got to stay in the mission here. And so I'm staying in there. And I know what will happen, but they're happy that I'm out. That 2 people were killed. The report from the soldiers was 2 people killed. The Thai soldiers are going there to close the border and get these Cambodians out.
Wow.
And all that. And it's only, I said, get them out. the border, it's only a line of bamboo sticks.
Exactly.
and so, so then the whole thing develops, and you get to know what the story is. So the story is that the Cambodians came over to get the Cambodian guerrillas, the we call Khmer Rouge, the Khmer Rouge.
Right.
They came over apparently to get supplies, to steal their rice, and naturally, when you know that these people will kill you, you give them what they want. But for some reason, someone who was terrified, of course, the people are terrified.
Right.
They're in the center of it. They happened to mention that there were white people there.
Oh.
Me and that woman.
That woman. And they wanted you.
Now they were interested.
Right.
They wanted to get them. But the people, now as Buddhists,
right,
protected us.
Wow.
They became ignorant. Yeah, they were here. We don't know where they are. All of a sudden, they're stupid. They act stupid, protecting us. We don't know where they are because now Buddhism is on the grill. They don't snitch. They don't tell information. They don't put other people in danger. Everybody is a human being that needs to be protected. They're like family. They're like family. So when the soldiers are coming, they have to get out. The Khmer Rouge have to get out. But before they go, they put 2 people down in the middle of the village and blow their heads off.
Who were the people that died? Were they also white?
People of the village.
Oh.
Nobody was white. Only me and that woman were white.
Right.
They were angry. They knew the people were lying.
Oh.
They knew that they were protecting us.
So they killed them because they protected you.
Of course.
Wow.
They were protecting us.
They were Buddhist martyrs.
Buddhists.
They gave Maximilian Kolbes that gave their life for you.
In fact, one time I wrote a thing to the episode. The other guy says, you should canonize all those people. They're all martyrs. They're martyrs. St. Paul says that chapter 2, book of Romans, right? That we do what God, doing the will of God. And that's what the Buddhists are doing. They're doing the will of God. They're protecting their brothers. They're protecting human beings. Because and they don't want to be killed. They don't want you to be killed. They didn't even want to kill the Chinese that invaded them. Okay? So you're all in the same pot. We're all in the same We're all in the same boat. And so there, I don't know the names of those people. I don't know who they were.
No, but they were willing to die to protect you.
They died to protect me and that woman.
Wow.
And then they say, this is my story, it's their story.
Right.
Talking about what happened to them. I saw that about people who went to death camps. The same thing with my student. He survived 4 years in Auschwitz because the people who didn't have food gave him their food.
Right.
See? And yet he was so disturbed and all this kind of thing that he was a wonderful person, a holy person, all that. Yet the church would not allow him to become a priest.
Why?
Because his mind would go to the nightmares.
Oh,
right.
Do you have contact with him still?
No, he's dead.
Oh.
And the last thing I got a letter from him where he contacted me, and he became a brother, a Franciscan brother, and helping people.
Good.
He was from Tasmania. His immigration was in Tasmania. And anyway, and he says, the wonderful days we had together.
Oh,
He thanks me for the wonderful days we had together.
But see,
and
the people
I wanted him to become a priest, but the authorities, the bishops wouldn't accept him.
But God's hand is in that, and look at
He's
the
in
life.
Heaven. He's in
Right. Look at the life
I
that
met
you have
so many
affected.
of these holy people. You see? So why should I even think of proclaiming myself? I'm not, I didn't do anything. People
Right.
died for me. And then because they didn't disrespect me, they didn't blame me for the people dying because they died because they were Buddhists.
Right.
Because that was what was expected of them.
Wow.
They didn't say, oh, you came to our village and you created danger for us.
Right.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
That is incredible.
They did me savade. Peace be with you.
Right.
Come here, go, and all that kind of thing. And then I went. I admire them. I cried for them.
Right.
And I saw missionaries that you don't see in America. Missionaries like Michael Keon, who was the Archbishop of Tare, a native Thai, and I knew him and I worked with him. And when I see people were being buried alive by the communists, by the Khmer Rouge, you know, and he come and he no, the funeral, no funeral, the buried the bishop who didn't even know the people, the Christians who had escaped George Vietnam and got refuge in Thailand, and woman was being buried. He didn't know who she was, but he came there and he was at that grave and cried. Did you see an archbishop ever do that? They don't even cry for another priest that dies. Do you ever see a priest that comes on the celebration of concelebrated masses in America, where they come and they cry for the guy that died?
Right.
They'll even say things that he did wrong. They'll even say, almost like, good riddance.
Right. Wow.
They did it to my Monsignor, who formed the 23,000 people that he met on the streets and formed 4 parishes.
Wow.
The bishop didn't want him there. The bishop didn't want him there. And
that's the one in New York?
In Buffalo, New York.
In Buffalo, yes.
Holy Cross Parish.
Right.
Okay. And
wow.
So that's where I was raised. So you see then how people treat people like people.
Right.
And those girls didn't have to go back to America. They were not filthy anymore. They washed their nails.
Right. It was all fit.
And everything fit right in. And they're praising me for teaching them how to be human. What a joke.
But it is true.
You have to how to be human.
You have to meet people where
but
they
I had
are.
to learn. I only passed it on. Isn't that witnessing? We received Jesus. Jesus called himself the Son of Man. He's really saying, I don't call myself an ordinary guy. That's what Jesus is saying to the Jews. I'm an ordinary guy, but I'm also the Son of God.
Right.
I can work miracles. I can do this for you. But on the other hand, I don't impose myself on you. You respond. If I teach 10 lepers and only one comes back and thanks me, and he's a Samaritan, he's better than those Jews who are going to the temple to give a sacrifice.
Right.
So everything fits in, and that's the whole thing with witnessing. So I'm saying that the people learned from me, and they learned about Jesus. Right. I'm happy because I taught about Jesus.
You have so much wisdom that you can share with missionaries.
I don't have any wisdom. It's Jesus.
Well, right. Wisdom is a gift of the Holy Spirit. So
I just steal it.
Right.
I stole it.
And well, you received it as a gift, which is really beautiful. An experience.
And a gift is a gift. We call it a grace.
Right.
A gift is a gift. It's always a gift. I'm no big shot because I've got a gift.
Right.
It belongs to God. I'm only using it. Right? Paul had to learn that receive a gift, and he's going to go to the Gentiles. Peter was afraid to go to the Gentiles.
Right.
But Paul did it. Everybody has a gift.
Right.
It's God who gives us the gift. God who works out. I don't know. I don't know how to improve myself. And a lot of things I did wrong. I don't tell you the things that.
That's okay. Everybody does, but you try and you try to.
But then these missionaries were helped, and he says, "Well, we've got a mission in the leper village."
Oh, goodness!
Want to go there? You want to go there?
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Well, Rami, it's wonderful to hear your stories.
It all continues.
Right.
Every missionary has a story.
I bet you could write volumes and volumes on your experiences.
By the way, I do write notes.
Do you? You should. I
got notes here.
Good. You could write volumes.
And I says, Buddhist monks, people respected them.
Right.
And I'm going to learn why they respect them. And
right.
I have to sit with them and keep my mouth shut. Okay, I write my notes to myself.
Good.
And then when I went back to these missionaries, they says, "Hey, you can do it. Good job. Maybe you could help us out in the leper village. That's big." And I got the name there, near Bong Ting, with the secret American air base that's supposed to be in Guam. Was Bong Ting in the middle of Thailand.
Was there.
And we got
just between you and me and our audience, right?
Yeah, and it's just between that. And go there. And I says, yeah, I'd be happy to go there. And just be myself.
Wow.
Pass it on. You're just passing things on. And so happy with it. And
well, Rami, we need to wrap this up. We're pushing on 2 hours.
2 hours?
Well, an hour and 45 minutes.
The stories
so next time, I want more stories.
Yeah. And by the way, I tried to look at a map of Thailand to find out where this village was.
Right.
I don't know if it has a name or not, but I forgot.
Well, sometimes that's the way it is in those places.
Yeah, that's how it is in those places. Some have names, some don't have names.
No. Do you want to lead us in a prayer, or do you want me to?
Well, go ahead. Your prayer is as good as mine.
Your prayer's probably better.
No, don't say that.
Let's wrap this up with a prayer. In the name of the
prayer that the Lord gives you is a good prayer.
Oh, good. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Sweet Jesus, we praise and thank and glorify you for the gifts you gave us today, and especially for the gift of Rami's life, for his work in the missions. We ask you to pour out your Holy Spirit upon him and all the days he has remaining here with us. We ask you to be with all of the people who are listening to us today, to open their hearts and set them on fire to be missionaries like him, wherever they are, even in their own homes. We ask you to be with all the people that he touched, those lives all over the world, with the refugees and with the Buddhists and even those who persecuted. And we ask you for their conversion. And we gather together and we pray as one. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
And I want to add to that prayer.
Oh, add to it.
I'm not the great guy. And
that what?
It's the glory belongs to the Lord. And
right.
Anybody can do it.
Yes.
Not me teach them. Anybody can do it. Just read the scriptures, do Lectio Divina, and the Lord, follow what the Lord did, how he went into the towns, and how he emptied himself. As the scripture says, he emptied himself of his divinity to become like us, to become one with us, to be more human than we're human, and to reach us. And so anybody, I don't want people to think that they've got to do it my way or how I did it and all that kind of thing. Do it the way the Lord did it, and you can succeed. Just make the effort. And Jesus already gave you the formula. Go and teach what I have taught you. Learn from me, because I'm meek and humble of heart. And I praise and I pray. My prayer right now, I want to pray for all those Buddhists suffering from those that are trying to take their faith away from them. And as Missionary said to me, he says, you know what some of these Buddhist monks didn't like us. They're talking about themselves. It says because we go there to preach, and we're taking them from being Buddhists to become Christians, and we're stealing them. We're not saints like ST saints coming and holy men stealing them, but we are sheep thieves. That's what they said, and they understood it, but they didn't know, in a way, didn't know how to get out of it. And they said, just follow Jesus. And so they says, that's it. We just follow Jesus. We just follow Jesus. And that's what Jesus did. And he gave us the whole formula. Go teach them what I have taught you. Use my model. Use my model. And my heart goes out to those people that died. I think of them. I didn't even know their names. I think of them.
But God knows their names.
God knows their names. And we'll meet together. We'll meet today.
Absolutely.
They sure didn't go to hell.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
See? And so I thank you for your prayer. And let people follow what the Lord shows them and what they're able to do.
Absolutely.
And just have courage, just do it. You
Great.
learn by doing it. You don't learn by reading a book.
Great.
Okay.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you. He does. And I want to know if you bless me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, God blesses you. That's all that matters.
Pass it on one to the other. And we're
Absolutely.
We're all united. It's called, the doctrine is called communion of saints.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
for allowing me to have you there on your side.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with me.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
To a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up where knowledge takes flight.